Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte. We are taking a look today at the Ottawa Senators and what their potential roster could look like going into next season. We'll be taking a look at that in this video. If you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey and want to see the latest news around the NHL, you guys know what to do. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Let's take a look at the Ottawa Senators' projected roster for next season. So, the Ottawa Senators have obviously had another rebuild year. They started out of the gate a little bit better than they have over the past couple years, but as the season went along, we started to see the same results from the Ottawa Senators. But this is still a very young hockey team, so I wouldn't be too worried if I'm Ottawa Senators fans or, there is not too much concern from the Senators. They're still a young team, and they still have some of their young prospects continuing to come up, and I think we're going to see this team get a lot better going into next season. So, looking at their forward group, well, let's look at the goaltending, because I don't think the goaltending is going to change very much. You're going to have Matt Murray and either Anton Forsberg or Joey Daccord. You're going to have one of those goaltenders behind Matt Murray, and that's the story we've had this season, so I don't see that changing too much for the Senators. Yeah, Matt Murray has not been great for the Sens, but I don't think he's going to be moving anytime soon unless they buy him out, which 1 year into his contract would not make much sense for the Senators. And he did have some bright spots during this first season. So, again, it's patience. Patience, Ottawa Senators fans. So now the forwards. The forwards are going to stay pretty much the same on the top line in just different orders. So it's going to be the same guys. You're going to have Tkachuk stay on this team. Tim Stützle now becomes the number one center. Now, again, this is future lineup. I think this is the ideal lineup right now for the Senators, which, of course, this is not what's going to happen. But this is the idealized lineup that Pierre Dorion is creating there in Ottawa. So you're going to have Tkachuk on the wing. You're going to have Stützle down the middle, first line center, and Drake Batherson. I think Batherson has done quite well on that first line, and then you've got Stützle and Tkachuk. It's a pretty gritty line overall, but I think that would really benefit the Ottawa Senators. You got the scoring from Stützle and Tkachuk, and Batherson can also be that little bit of a rough guy in front of the net. I think that's a great line there for the Senators. Looking at the second line, we've got some interesting names. So we've got Shane Pinto, who we've already seen a little bit of here over the last couple of games. Alex Formenton on one side, and Victor Ledin, who is currently playing overseas in the SHL. So those two guys on the wing definitely could change to be the third line, flip back and forth. But I like that line. You've got Shane Pinto down the middle. He's projected to be a top 6 center at the NHL level. I think Shane Pinto has that potential from the University of North Dakota. I think Pinto could be that guy for the Ottawa Senators. Again, this could change very easily if they decide to pick somebody else at the draft this year, which obviously could change the plans there. But as of now, Stützle and Pinto, I think it's a really solid number 1 and number 2 center for the future of the Ottawa Senators, right? I want to preface that. All right, so now we're looking at the bottom 6. You got Ridley Greig, Colin White, and Connor Brown. That's a pretty gritty third line, and I like that. I think that's a good line here for the Senators. They could run that line out when they want, maybe a little bit of grit added in. If the team's falling asleep, the top line's not doing so well, throw out the third line. You got Colin White, who can play very good defensively. Ridley Greig, who is supposed to be a big power forward-esque player, a bit of a grinder, so that could be a nice fit there, as well as Connor Brown, which we all know what he did in Toronto. We're going to see that more here from the Ottawa Senators, and he does bring a touch of goal scoring along with Colin White. All right, so now the fourth line. This is more just a depth line. You do have Evgeny Dadonov now, which look how he fell down the depth chart quite quickly here in Ottawa. You've got Clark Bishop down the middle and Vitaly Abramov. Now, the center here could be any of Nick Paul, could be Bishop. I don't know what happened to Logan Brown. Did Logan Brown get traded? I think he did, but you've got Bishop, and ideally you've got a guy like Nick Paul. But again, I don't know if he's going to re-sign with the Senators, so we're going to leave Bishop here. And Vitaly Abramov, who I think has the potential to still be an NHL player, but in a lesser role, more of a bottom 6, depth scoring kind of guy in Vitaly Abramov. Now we're moving on to defense, and this is where things get interesting, and it has to do with this year's draft, actually, too. So we'll get into that. So the first pairing is going to stay the same. We're going to have Thomas Chabot and Nikita Zaitsev. That's going to be your top pairing. You're going to keep that the same. And the second pairing is where things get interesting. We're going to have Erik Brannstrom and potentially first overall pick in this year's draft, Owen Power. I was running a lot of draft simulations. And again, that doesn't mean anything. It could easily change the day of the draft, but we're just using a projection here. The Ottawa Senators select Owen Power. So you've got Erik Brannstrom and Owen Power on your second pairing. That is really good stuff there for the Ottawa Senators. Would be a huge upgrade for their defense. Now, Owen Power is a left shot defenseman, which changes this story a little bit because they're both left shot defensemen, but maybe they can make something work, or maybe Chabot would go to the right side if he was comfortable. Actually, no, he is a left shot defenseman, but that's besides the point. They could figure that out, I'm sure. But that is a really solid top four. Maybe not Nikita Zaitsev, but those other three guys, Chabot, Brannstrom, and Owen Power. Just imagine that defense for the Ottawa Senators going into next season. Looks pretty good for the Senators, but we'll see what happens there. Now, the bottom pairing is a little interesting too, because you've got Artem Zub and newly acquired Victor Mete from the waiver wire from the Montreal Canadiens, but you've also got Jacob Bernard Docker, who is coming into the lineup. I actually don't have him on here, but I should. He could play in that bottom pairing as well. He has the potential to eventually take Nikita Zaitsev's spot there in the top four. Maybe become a top pairing defenseman. Who knows? Jacob Bernard Docker, once again from the University of North Dakota, along with Shane Pinto. So very exciting stuff. I'm excited to see what the Ottawa Senators roster looks like next season. Really, the only real changes, I think, we're going to see more of Shane Pinto. We could see Ridley Greig come into the lineup. I think the Ottawa Senators' first round pick this year, whichever it is, from 1 to 5, if it's Owen Power, if it's Will Eklund, it depends on who it ends up being. Kent Johnson, who knows, right? But I like this group for the Ottawa Senators, and the young guys are ready. We're already seeing some of these young guys, like Shane Pinto, Jacob Bernard Docker. I think it's really exciting to see what the Senators have. And, for some guys in their rookie season, like Tim Stützle, get a little experience under them. Erik Brannstrom as well. This is a good lineup for the Ottawa Senators. And for all the flack Pierre Dorion has taken, guys, let's remember, just a few years ago, this team was destined to go to the Stanley Cup Final, 1 goal away against Pittsburgh. So this team, again, Pierre Dorion has taken a lot of flack because of the ownership issues, but he has still found a way to get this team to develop and get some good prospects in the system. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you agree with my opinion on these potential lineups going into next season, or do you think some of these guys maybe need a little bit more development? Let me know in the comment section down below. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and let's go Sens.